Hey everyone. Yeah, just showing up for meditation. Actually, had some uh, kind of burst of energy in the middle of the night. Um, got like maybe 2 hours of sleep, and then another two or three, and then had like a burst of energy and couldn't get back to sleep. So, and I was also hungry, so I got up and had something to eat, and then it's the hard thing about the chronic fatigue and the energy issues, which I'm hoping that some of the supplements and treatments that I'm getting into will help me with that. Is that once I ate, suddenly just a huge wave of tiredness, and um, but I don't like to lay down right after eating. So basically, it's just like you know come to the meditation and you know establishing just showing up to meditation, which kind of looks like for me just you know sitting down with eyes closed and um, relatively upright spine. Oh yeah, I actually want to just go get a pillow for my lap. Yeah, that actually helps me a lot just to get comfortable when I have a pillow for my lap to rest my arms on. So yeah, just like settling in, checking in. I was just kind of scattered, which is just such a tendency to kind of revert to scatteredness. Um, yeah, getting a good into the moment with the breathing, starting with the breath cycle meditation, just starting with that gentle exhalation, and then that post exhalation pause, waiting for that breath cycle reversal signal. Um, then again, inhalation is still with some difficulty. Um, yeah, the inhalation is still with some difficulty. So just being with it until it reaches the top, and then you know, um, noticing some belly expansion, which is good. Sometimes the breathing rhythm is more of a symptom in that sense. That's why it can be important to just observe the breathing without trying to change it, because I think a lot of times the the whatever the breathing rhythm is, whatever the breathing pattern is, it's actually more of a symptom of something else. So um, I think it's important to accept it as it is on that, um, and more focused on just like directly experiencing it and not um, trying to change it or trying to force the breathing, trying to control the breathing, trying to control the breathing um, might kind of mask whatever the actual breathing pattern is a symptom of, if that makes sense. And also, just throwing in some aura work as well, just because that's another thing too, is that for me with like the chronic fatigue and the extreme depletion exhaustion, I think I have gotten so depleted that I don't even really have like a strong aura um, to almost protect the energy that I do have. So it's um, easier to like lose energy. So when I do start accumulating some energy, throwing in aura work, which for me is just like sort of, I mean, the aura is a real thing. So it's not necessarily just imagining, but it's like connecting with like I see it as kind of like a bubble around myself. Um, so I was doing the aura work, just kind of um, using my awareness hands to just kind of um, pack energy into this like sort of orb of energy around me, and noticing that I was experiencing that without a lot of doubt or skepticism, um, which was good to have that freedom to do that. And then noticed a pleasant tingling sensation begin to appear kind of around T7 actually, T7 vertebrae, which is, I felt kind of in a way like surprised, but I also feel it's definitely connected to the meditation on T11 that we were doing yesterday. And again, this is kind of where um, things I was demonstrating yesterday was, again, just showing up, sitting down with eyes closed. And sometimes it takes 5 or 10 minutes just to kind of settle in. Um, and then more precision awareness targeting starts to take place. You have like specific sensation and locations for awareness targeting that become clear out of what starts out as like a more abstract, foggy thing. This is the technique I'm having a really powerful experience with. Some precision awareness targeting did unfold. Um, it was jumping around a little bit, which is again like it's almost like the password sometimes to I guess for my energy to see how dynamic my awareness is, because like I tend to follow internally as the sensation um, kind of bounced around to different places, and then eventually it did settle in my hands again, which was where I left off last night. Was some energy in the hands. So so then I began feeling the energy in the hands again, and again, it's the right thumb, without forcing it, without applying any kind of mechanical conveyor belt style uh, energy scan process. Just following the energy, like what it wants to show me, and again, it's my right thumb, and specifically now the knuckle joint as different precision awareness targets come up in that area, following them, um, staying with one until the next unfolds. And this is a technique that I haven't heard described specifically anywhere. It, I'm sure that it's possible that someone does it somewhere, or maybe no one's ever thought of it. I don't know. But anyway, last night I was out for a walk at night, and I looked up at the stars, and um, I'm pretty good at finding which one is, where Jupiter is and all that. And I was looking at Jupiter and just like how white it is and how bright it is, and the other stars too. And it was nice to actually have enough energy to just like appreciate that view. So many times I'm so tired I can hardly stand, So how can I look up at the sky? But I had a bit more energy, and so I was able to kind of absorb some of that view. And um, now I find myself using an awareness action that I've used in the past, which is so that when in a clear night sky, when I've looked at stars, there's something about that, like, sort of pinpoint in the sky, that precise, sort of concentrated representation of energy, which is the star, and then sort of the empty space of the sky. It's actually like a very good kind of metaphor for like um, you know, concentrating energy into an energy ball. Um, and then this part is kind of hard to describe. I'm gonna practice some more before I try to describe it. Yeah, I really can't exactly explain it yet. It's almost like because I'm using kinesthetic awareness when I'm feeling the energy, not sight, or not a mental image. But then it's like I'm superimposing the image in my mind of the night sky with one of those bright stars like superimposed directly over my the location of my kinesthetic awareness target. it's a lot harder to explain than I thought. Um, and using that almost like that laser pinpoint of the star in the night sky as a awareness action on my awareness target. Yeah, it's probably going to be very hard to explain that. Um, but I just wanted to try because I was connecting with it pretty powerfully, um, and then like, okay, where do we go from here? Because to me, meditation earlier on for me, it was more of a mechanical process that I could almost do, kind of like I use the word conveyor belt a lot, um, which I think was a good practice anyway. I built some skills that way. Um, but now it's like it's more dynamic, and it's really very much not a mechanical process. If it ever was more like a mechanical process, now it's like it cannot be mechanical at all. Um, so noticing like when one sort of meditation activity, like the awareness action I was describing on my thumb, starts to feel complete, or just like it's time to move on from that, and then being like, okay, what's next? And sometimes dropping deeper into meditation involves like almost letting go of everything I think I know as much as possible. Um, and almost like being back in touch with another more vague, abstract felt sense. Like we've sat for a certain amount of time now. For me, I got kind of deeper into that awareness action on my thumb. And then I started to think that would be the process, like that would continue sharpening. Um, but then it turns out that reached a, point where now something new started emerging. And so I'm trying to be with this very abstract felt sense that started emerging. It's also showing me again some sensations in my upper and middle back, around T7 vertebrae, and maybe in between the shoulder blades to the sides of it. Some sounds in the background. I don't think I've been aware of little ringing in the ears yet. So I just became aware of some ringing in the ears. So that is just a good sign of, I guess, what they say, coming to our senses, kind of coming to my senses. Just following that. Like, what happens if I give a little more attention to that ringing in the ears? Does that feel like I'm going in the right direction with my awareness, or does it feel like I'm trying to make something happen? Yeah, I want to make something happen. I think that is part of the new thing that's emerging, is also me wanting to and trying to make something happen and needing to let go of trying to make something happen, because that's not the way that I've um, seen as the best way to relate to this energy. Something is like emerging from the present moment from a deeper place, and my job is just to kind of like help it emerge, but not like make it happen. Definitely the discomfort of not having some kind of clear focus. I'm just going to go switch to a standing position and see if that helps. Okay, so I switched to a standing position. Yeah, it's still, there's this discomfort. Probably if I would have just stayed seated, it just would have been the same. My mind's starting to think, oh, if I change my, position or something, then it'll help it. But really, it's like just like some kind of uncomfortable feeling that I'm having trouble being present with. definitely a lot of like just sort of abstract, uncomfortable, hard to be with kind of things coming up in this layer. And yeah, in a way, I preferred the previous layer, which was like the awareness targeting on my thumb. I wanted to just stick with that. But that was just one layer, and then now it's opened to this next layer where there's some TRE stuff, tremors happening, and um, clenching, and so that's okay. This layer is, emerging, and it takes time to emerge. Um, yeah, that's one hard thing about TRE with the tremors is like an area is trying to tremor, and there's like a lactic acid buildup. Um, then the tremors have to stop, even though I kind of felt like I wanted them to continue. So it's like that stuckness. Yeah, some wave of like tiredness coming up, and also like just some maybe being kind of spaced out coming up. Um, which are again like kind of abstract felt senses, like not not like physical sensations that have like a clear location, like oh I feel a sensation in my shoulder, or I'm tremoring and my hand is doing this and I feel like the movement in my wrist. Those are more um, kind of easier to like put my finger on it, so to speak. But with the tiredness and the spaced outness, those are more abstract to be with, kind of more difficult to be with in a way, because I don't know where to grip onto it, um, or how to precision awareness target it. Um, and again, also with the tiredness, it's like I know it's one of those things that if I were to lay down and try to sleep, I wouldn't fall asleep yet. So it's like just staying with this sort of wave of tiredness that, inquiring deeper into it in meditation. Because if I were to lay back down to sleep, I wouldn't sleep yet. Um, so that wave of tiredness is something more to kind of inquire into um, until I know it actually is time that I would sleep when I laid down. Because I really don't want to just lay down and then just lay there tossing and turning. Um, Yeah, this is definitely a deeper layer. It's difficult to be with. There's also a lot of urges to escape somehow. Um, a lot of clenching, more physical stuff coming up, tremoring and clenching. Kind of taking a little step towards unblending from some of the urges to escape and run from whatever this is, or whatever is, behind this layer. That there's protective mechanisms that, are trying to protect me from whatever's behind this layer. Um, so sort of unblending from those. Because, like, if I'm blended with those urges to escape, I might even just have a preoccupied thought, like, okay, time to go do the next thing, and just follow it without even realizing that um, that's actually, those are sort of cognitions that I can, like, unblend from, or parts of me that I can unblend from and hold space for, just like I am holding space for the other things. In IFS, they call that like the self energy. It's the one that's like holding space for these parts. So it's like, oh, well, I'm feeling scattered and spaced out. And like getting into self energy is like, oh, I'm holding space for the spaced out experience where I'm feeling spaced out, but I'm holding space for that. Or whatever the other thing was, like I'm holding space for that. So just holding space for all this, and definitely like to meditate longer, you know, deeper layers come up. Deeper layers come up. And things that might not be or probably won't be navigated all in one session. Um, so it takes a lot of patience. The breathing rhythm also becomes like more complex, and there's more emotions attached to the breathing rhythm. Um, More unfamiliar stuff. Definitely more unfamiliar territory at this deeper layer. Um, and it's like the breathing pattern doesn't want to have deep breathing, which definitely makes sense. Like, if there's elements of a traumatic body memory in this, which is very likely because there's tremoring and clenching, um, then, in a traumatic body memory, like a flashback or when the trauma was happening, I probably wasn't feeling serene and doing deep belly breathing. I was probably in extreme fight or flight, and um, my breathing was probably very choppy. I was probably holding my breath a lot. Um, so that's part of this layer. I think the yawning is more just because there is tiredness. Um, but maybe not. I don't think the yawning is part of the layer. Yeah, I think the unfamiliar things are hard to hold space for, um, hard to connect with. The unfamiliar things that come up in this layer. At one point, I had sort of I was aware of some thoughts that were like, nothing's happening. This isn't anything, you know. Um, I'm gonna go do whatever, and like a urge to just kind of walk away. But like I was more in the witnessing seat for those. Then they passed, and I kind of again just got back to just standing, feeling my feet on the floor. My hands are just hanging out in my pockets right now, and I'm like breathing through my mouth actually, um, very shallow. And sometimes that's how it is. A lot of times I think I usually associate meditation more with like a deep, not deep diaphragmatic nostril breathing, but that's not always the breathing pattern that's presenting itself. Sometimes the breathing pattern that's presenting itself is just kind of shallow mouth breathing. Yeah, but I think maybe I am done for now. I think maybe I am ready to lay down and try to sleep. Um, Now I think I wasn't maybe in the last 10 or 15 minutes, but now I am. So thanks for watching. And yeah, I'm finding it helpful to get to like have this channel to kind of share this process that I've had some sticking points within this process myself. To kind of this kind of doing this meditation here kind of helps me concentrate. Um, for some reason, I can't fully explain that, but maybe it's just what I'm supposed to be doing right now. and helps me concentrate. And I see that there's, like some contribution that I'm making by demonstrating my process of being with kind of each layer in the meditation process as it comes up. And then also just having like a bare minimum meditation definition, like, okay, I am sitting or standing still with my eyes closed. Um, could also be laying down at times, um, still with my eyes closed. I think having my eyes closed for me is a big part of the definition of meditation. I mean, I'm sure there can also be eyes open meditation forms, but um, kind of for me, also just being able to be like, okay, my eyes are closed. I'm being sort of standing or sitting or laying down still, and I'm here. That's sort of like a sort of bare minimum definition. And then, like, a lot more is going to happen within that container. Um, but sometimes it helps for me, just to bring my awareness back to that sort of super baseline definition. Um, and then these layers kind of take place within that container. And then also being a little more sensitive to, like, okay, I do feel like I stayed with that deeper layer. It was very abstract, very unfamiliar. I stayed with that for a while. Now, sort of re-emerging back to um, waking consciousness, so to speak, and like being kind of sensitive about re-emerging from that meditative state. Well, thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.